All right, my friends, welcome back to another episode of the Build Show podcast. That's right, my weekly time to get together with you guys and go deep. I got a terrific guest in the studio, a really old friend of mine, and by old I mean the exact same age as me, who's actually been in business quite a bit longer than me. We're going to be talking to my buddy Branson Fustes. Branson, did I say Brandon Fustes? Branson Fustes, sorry Branson. I totally butchered your name. We've been friends for 20 years. And he actually has 3 businesses, a building company and then 2 other companies that I think young builders frankly are the same age as us, we're going to find some interesting things about Branson. And I'm really curious, we're going to get into this with him, how have those other businesses benefited him in times when the economy has gone up or down, or when his building company has gone up or down? I think we're going to get some really interesting stuff from Branson today. With that being said, from the Build Studios in Austin, Texas, let's get going. All right, guys, before we jump into the Brants, I've got 2 sponsors that I want to say a special thank you to. First off, Pella Windows and Doors. Pella just jumped on a year or 2 ago as a Build Show sponsor. And I'll be honest, I didn't have a lot of experience with them in the past. I hadn't used their product a lot, so getting to know their people. Actually took a factory tour this past year in 2025. Man, they have some great products. They're a 100-year-old company. And I think in the custom building world, a lot of builders, like my friend Stephanie, have used them for a long time, but for whatever reason, I didn't have a lot of experience with them. Did my first project with them in 24 and 25. And I was super impressed. We used their lifestyle series on a build. It was a high performance build, not necessarily to passive house standards, but you know, of course we're always going for really high performance. So we did a series of fixed windows and some casements. And I specified a type of casement that I really like, which is what they call a push out casement. One lever and then you just push the window open, which I like, no cranks. But the thing that turned out so amazing on this project is they were super airtight. I was impressed. We did a blower door score prior to the trade starting on the house, and it was Monopoly framed, all the window and door packages in, full Pella everywhere, including the front door and a triple slider. My blower door score was 0.40 ACH 50. So that would have made passive house standards with a kind of off-the-shelf window and door package. Like, this wasn't a passive house certified product or some European style. So I was really impressed. And then beyond that, in the house, we used a mixture of both double glaze and triple glaze. So we had some windows in that house that were U factors of like 0.15, like really, really good. So if you don't know Pella, great company, great people. And I got to tell you, I was very, very impressed with their product. Next up, I want to say thanks to Huber Engineered Woods, probably the oldest or maybe the second oldest sponsor of the Build Show, giving us the ability to provide this free content for you guys. I was talking about that house, the Reisinger build we built. The way that we built that house with Monopoly framing was the perfect fit to use both Zip R on the walls, which is an insulated zip sheathing, and standard zip on the roof so that we could Monopoly frame it. That wall and roof plane intersection that just has one piece of zip tape there led to that 0.40 ACH 50, and frankly the ability to give a blower door at the pre-trades time frame, which allowed us to really check the performance, make sure things were as tight as we were expecting, and then do a post-trades blow door as well to go, hey, do our backdraft dampers work? Did we cut any holes we didn't expect that didn't get steeled? There's so many big benefits to working with the Huber zip system, so much so that when I built my house 4 years ago now, I built it with Huber Zip. Just terrific products. All right, guys, go check out Huber if you want more information. Let's jump in with Branson, my friend. Branson, thanks for coming to the studio, dude.
My pleasure, man. I'm excited.
I can't believe we have been friends almost since the time I moved to Austin in 05, and I've never once had you on the podcast. That's pretty bad, isn't it?
Well, we're busy.
We are busy, and I don't see you as much as I used to. I don't work as much downtown. I don't have an office downtown, and you've been centrally located for a long time.
That's right. Yeah, we do stuff South Austin, Central, and a lot of stuff out in the Hill Country as well.
So, Branson, I'm calling this my origin series. I've invited a bunch of my builder friends in to kind of tell their story. I think it's really helpful for us to to review, like, here's how I got there.
Right.
I think sometimes when younger builders see successful older builders, they're like, oh, they got handed the business, or, you know, oh, they got lucky, or the economy was better then and it's not as good today. So sometimes it's good for younger builders to hear the struggles that you and I have had over the years. Before we jump into that, though, give us the kind of contemporary. Where is Pilgrim Building Company today? And I alluded to it briefly, but tell us about your other two businesses as well. Like, give us the quick overview on what you do.
Sure. So Pilgrim's our general contracting company, and we're doing 2, maybe 3 projects at a time. Those projects are similar to what you've done, really custom for high-end architects trying to do a high craft product. So that takes a lot of attention, and that takes a lot of bandwidth. So we don't do a lot of things, we do a few things, and we try to do them really well. So that's Pilgrim. We've got a few project managers, and we concentrate on just a few projects at a time. We also have a labor company that was kind of born out of our in-house labor, and that company's called Enabler. And then most recently, we've started a service company that's trying to help out all those projects we build.
So you said it briefly, but I absolutely love the name Enabler. This is the name of basically a carpentry company.
That's right.
How did you come up with such an awesome name?
I thought I was being cute.
It's still to this day pretty funny.
Yeah, it's we joke because we're pretty good at marketing on that.
Yeah, you are.
I think we're a more successful T-shirt and hat company than we are a carpentry company. But
every year you give out to your people that have used Enabler, and I'm sure that's probably including architects and builders like me. We've used the Enabler team a bunch. A hat, a shirt. I think I even have a really cool field notes notepad from you. And your branding is absolutely on point. Like, if you get nothing else from our conversation, you should go out to Branson's website and check out Pilgrim Building Company and Enabler and check out what he's done with branding. Has that always just been in-house? Did you use some fancy company to do this for you?
So Enabler, we got lucky. That was actually a design company called Land Boys. And that was a kind of magical time in Austin, Texas, where there's there's still talent, but there's a lot of talent coming up, and we did like a barter with them.
Oh my gosh.
And now they're blown up, they're great.
That's awesome.
And then we've had some great associations that have kind of helped spread that word and amplify it. So.
And tell us where we can find you on Instagram or the web, just in case people don't know.
Enabler Austin is on Instagram.
All one word?
Yep.
Enabler Austin.
Yep. And then
just like it sounds, Enabler.
That's right. And then Pilgrim is Pilgrim Building Company, and the website's pilgrimbuilding.com and enablerllc.com. So
yeah, your branding, your website, everything you put out to the public is absolutely on point. Amazing. And it speaks to your craftsmanship. I mean, when I first moved here in 2005, I can't remember how I met you or how we became friends, but I
remember you came to that Eva project we were building.
Is that how I met you?
And I think because somebody tipped you off that we were doing SIP construction.
Oh, okay.
And so that's how it's probably the Green Building Program.
I bet it was.
And you walked on, and I think I was bags on at that time.
Yeah, you were.
And we peeled away for lunch or something, and haven't looked back.
And we were like, hey, this guy's really like we were also like a couple months from each other in the same age.
Yeah. There was a lot of correlation.
But you're 6 months in business longer than me, because you actually started your company in 2000,
That's right? Yep.
And I didn't start till, 99, 2000?
2000.
2000, okay. So this is your 26th year in business.
That's right.
And I didn't start till 2005. And I vividly remember in some of those early projects, like, wow, the level of craftsmanship and precision here is way above what I'd ever seen before. Now, you have to remember, I came from the production builder world for a couple of years, and then the semi-custom world, and then I moved to Austin, and I'm a bit of a nerd. Like, I read fine woodworking, and I like doing woodworking projects on the side, but then I come and see what you're doing. I'm like, holy cow, you're doing like a whole nother level that most people don't know. And right after that, or right around that time, you'd built that rammed earth house. Do you still own that house?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Outside of town, Branson built this rammed earth house, and I can't remember how I got there. It was a tour or something.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
And I was like, this is unbelievable.
Right.
And then I'm like, how's this even insulated? How do you wire this? How do you blah, blah, blah? Because on the inside, you're seeing the layers of the packed dirt.
Right.
On the outside, you're seeing the layers of the packed dirt. It's just the most beautiful thing ever. And Years later, I got my brother-in-law to fly me out to Marfa to see another one that you built with, who was the architect?
That was Lake Flato.
Lake Flato, that's right.
Yeah.
That's got to be one of the most, and I was even just under construction, not finished. I've seen the finished images now, but one of the most incredible projects.
Super proud of that project. I mean, that was just a dream team all around, and we were able to deliver on that. I mean, Marfa, as you know, right, it's an island, and so we had to bring in a lot of our own labor. We had to move about 7 enablers out there and a project manager, and just the level of craft they delivered. We had great clients who were all in, and so they allowed us to do what I think we do well. I mean, they kind of called our bluff, right? It's like, we think we can do this, we think we can do this remotely, but it really came out great.
I have a funny story about that. Tell me if this is true. I remember this to be true, but maybe it's not true. After that video published, I just said, we're in the middle of nowhere, Texas. Like, I didn't say we're in Marfa, because I didn't want, we obviously want to protect your clients and their anonymity. Right. Didn't you tell me that a Border Patrol guy touched down in his helicopter like 2 weeks after the publication of that video?
That's right. So the guys are working, and there's choppers going around, but all of a sudden one's kind of loitering, it starts dropping, and he's like, I knew this was the one from the Bill show. And the guys are like, we're trying to build a house here, like, and choppers are dropping and want a personal tour.
Gosh, that is so funny. I'm glad I remember that correctly. I was glad that wasn't a lie.
No, that was right on.
So funny. Love it, dude. You never know. You never know in the Build show. So, Branson, tell us your origin story. Like, you moved to Austin in 2000. What brought you to Austin? What were you doing before that? And if I remember correctly, you don't have like a construction management degree from Texas A&M or a dad who you took over the business after him starting it 20 years ago. Yeah. How did you get here, and what was your genesis?
Yeah, so I'm from Galveston, so in between Houston and Galveston. Okay. Went to school, University of Colorado. Started off as engineering. Differential equations changed my mind.
Funny enough, I got a D- in differential equations, and I also changed my degree.
I think you did better than I did. So I switched to the other thing I loved, which is wildlife biology. Okay. So that's what my degree was in. Summers, I was doing construction. I started doing decks with a buddy. We thought that was a great summer gig. It was great. I was 20 years old in Colorado framing redwood decks. Like, oh my gosh. What's not to love?
What's not to love?
Yeah, that led into a cabinet shop, which was really my first. That was when the big light bulb went off. I was like, this is amazing. Not only do I love it, I think I'm kind of good at it.
That's awesome.
That was cabinetry, furniture, and that was one of those first moments where I was like, this is something I enjoy doing. Oh, and you get to pay me for this? Like, it was that young adult, just like, this was awesome. So,
that's so cool.
That was great. That led into carpentry, and I worked for a great building company in Boulder, Colorado called Sugarloaf Building Company. And they had a crew of in-house carpenters, and we did small remodel, not small, we did all in-house work. And so we were the same carpenters that would frame a house, that were trimming it out, a year later.
Neat.
So a lot of remodel work. Boulder has a very capped growth on their permitting, and so a lot of remodel work. So you learn a lot on remodels.
Yeah, you do.
And so that was that. And so that was early 20s, mid 20s.
Okay.
Met my wife in Boulder. We moved back to Austin, or not back to. We moved to Austin. And
your wife's not from Austin.
Nope. She's from Florida. Okay. Moved to Austin to build a house for my parents in Wimberley.
I'd forgotten that.
And that was one of those things as such, like, I look back now as like, oh, how naive, just because you know how to put boards together and build a wall, that you can build a whole house, much less run a company building that house, right?
Gosh.
And that lesson I have continued to learn over the last 25 years.
Sure, we all have.
But that's what it started, right? It's like, just, having these little successes that add up to, I think I can do that. Yeah, I think I can do that. And
that's so awesome.
Here we are.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So then that's Pilgrim Building Company.
That's right.
That's kind of the genesis. Did you run a cabinet shop for a period of time through Pilgrim?
No, we didn't do cabinets. Well, we didn't have a cabinet shop. Let me back that up a little bit. So whenever I started Pilgrim, and you alluded to some of those early projects, Austin still is, but certainly 20 years ago, great design work coming out of this town, right?
Amazing.
And so it's been a rising tide for all of us. And so it's a bit of, when I sit across the street, or across the desk from design teams, we're kind of both challenging each other, right? And that's a good thing.
Yep.
It's not always good for the budget, but it's a good thing.
Right.
And so we're each elevating each other's craft. Whenever I was doing that early in the 20s, as that carpenter, woodworker, cabinet background, I was like, yeah, I know how to do that. I know how to do that. But it wasn't me doing the work, right? It was me as a general contractor saying, all right, I know how to do that, but I got to find people to do that.
Yep.
That was a challenge. That was a challenge, finding crews that would look at something on paper and say, oh, I know how to bid that. Because this is something novel, right? It's something that, some architectural flourish that wasn't necessarily different, but it was new.
Yeah.
And I had spoken with the architect, I kind of had an idea how I would do it. And then I'd bring other folks in, and oftentimes I'd get what I thought was a premium.
Yep.
And I realized that's the learning curve, that's the unknown, right? Whenever you ask somebody for a bid, you're managing risk, right?
Yeah.
So that person's either assuming the risk, which is what you're asking for, and so sometimes you get a premium of that. You get some price that's high.
Yeah.
Whether it's really high or whether it's just, perceived high.
The oh crap factor.
Right, you figure that out. I started seeing those and I was like, well, I think I can do that. I think I can do that for less or quicker, and so we started self-performing that. Whenever we met, I mentioned I was bags on, like I would go to the job site where I was building one project at a time. I had my tools there and I had a handful of guys. Some of those guys actually are still with me.
That's so awesome.
And we were building these houses and we were figuring it out. Now, granted, we were figuring it out as carpenters, which certainly is some value, but it has some blind spots too. But
Sure.
we were doing that all, so that's how it became in-house, and then doing that for years until about 2010. We had maybe 10 people that were kind of in-house carpenters. I wasn't running that crew at that point. There was other folks that were helping me run it, and I was getting killed with insurance cost because the general contractor was self-performing labor.
Yeah.
And I was like, I hate paying that insurance cost.
Huge.
And so I was like, well, how could I avoid that? They're like, well, subcontractors pay less insurance than contractors. And so I split it into a separate company. And I mean, everybody thinks there's some grand insight to this, but it's just me trying to save money, right?
Which was really smart though at the end.
Right. And so I split it to a separate company. That was when Enabler started. That was 2010. And it's been its own thing since then. And there's been a lot of
16 years ago.
Right. There's been a lot of challenges we've kind of had to figure out on what that looks like, of how to really keep the companies kind of in their own lane. And I mean, quite frankly, I've been very fortunate. I've got an operating partner who is better. Everything I've just said, he's better at than I am.
That's awesome.
And he has run it better than I ever could have.
And you got a couple dozen carpenters out there in the field.
That's right.
That are working on both Pilgrim jobs, but also we've used them a bunch on our jobs. And I know you've worked for all the good contractors in Austin, right?
Yeah, Enabler's year or Enabler work, Pilgrim's only about 30% of.
Okay,
and so the majority of its work is working for other folks.
That's wild.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a more successful model than general contracting, at least how we do it. Yeah.
So one of the questions that I was curious about, and I kind of alluded to at the beginning, like as your building company has had up and down over the years, which we all have, it's construction, has having this separate, I should say, carpentry company enabled you to even out your salary at all or your take-home pay? Has that been a benefit to you of this or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. I mean, the lesson, I'm going to answer that a little bit differently, because the lesson I take from the two companies is Enabler is a very lean company. There's not a lot of overhead to it, right?
Yeah.
We don't have a fleet of trucks, and there's certainly people who do that. Have fleet of trucks, have all this overhead. We don't have that. We even have a modest shop.
Do your carpenters own their own tools or do you own the tools?
We own the big stuff and they own hand tools.
Okay, gotcha.
But the difference between that with Pilgrim is Pilgrim, although we don't do spec projects, so much of our workload is speculative in the sense of we're going to help develop this project that may or may not get off the ground.
Right.
And so versus Enabler, those are almost always billable hours.
Right. We're actual working.
Right.
Hours.
We're just producing. Right. And so when I look at those two models, I was like, oh, this one has a lot of and the liability with general contracting. Enabler is just a lot cleaner.
Yep.
We try to charge a very competitive rate. That being said, we also feel very strongly about health insurance and taking care of our people. And so there are minimums. Our minimum is more than some of our competitors out there, but that's a value that we've kind of instilled early on that project or on that company.
I want to give you a little bit of credit to raising the bar in the industry in Austin, though, for carpenter pay, especially with talented guys. And we won't get into any specifics. I'm not gonna disclose where your hourly rate is. Sorry, but I can tell you that I had in-house carpenters for a long time. I currently do not, and I think that Texas has had a low bar for carpentry because if you just say the word carpenter, you think rough carpentry, framing,
Right.
And we've had way too low for many, many years of an understanding of what an hourly wage of a carpenter should be.
Yep.
And this town has a higher bar for craftsmanship,
Yep.
whether it's rough carpentry or finished carpentry. I'll use those as just general, rough carpentry meaning framing, finished carpentry meaning anything post sheetrock, let's say.
That's right.
And your enabler team, especially even like the fact that you provided healthcare, which I didn't do for a long time. It's only been in the last decade that I've been able to do that. I think you've really raised the bar on our Austin industry for what it should cost to have a good craftsman on the job. And so I, on behalf of our industry and specifically all the carpenters in Austin, I appreciate you doing that, man.
Well,
that's pretty awesome. That's God's work right there.
That's generous, and I will say the heart and soul of our company has always been driven by my wife, right? She's like, we have to take care of people. And we're in it for the long haul. We as individuals, we as a company, we in Austin are in it for the long haul. So we want it to be sustainable, and we realize that taking care of people isn't just about the take-home pay, although that is the biggest part of it.
Sure.
But if somebody's wife or parent gets sick, we want to be able to say, don't worry about it. Go take care of that.
Yep.
If somebody gets in a car wreck and like, hey, let's help with, if we can, with medical bills, or let's help with a deductible payment.
That's awesome.
So we try to say that those little things help us in the long run.
Yeah, for sure they do. And think about how the longevity of your crew because of that too.
Yeah, well, and when you're around really talented folks, just as a business person and as somebody who I think can really appreciate what it takes to get to what we do, it's like there's a sense of protectiveness.
Yep.
Like, I want you to keep doing this, and I want to protect you from all the other stuff.
Secret weapon.
Yeah, and like, some of our job as general contractors, we're taking some arrows every now and then, right? And so to keep producing what we want to produce, we need that talent, we need that team.
Yeah.
And so I think some of our job is protecting that for the long run, and that means taking care of them when we can.
This is a total side note tangent.
Yeah.
But I'm curious from your perspective, at what age do you think a carpenter would realistically retire from their job?
It's interesting.
Could you get a carpenter to be fully productive to 65 and then retire?
I've got some 60-year-old carpenters.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Probably the most talented carpenter I've ever worked with is a guy who's my age. You probably know who I'm talking about. I don't want to say his name on camera because I don't want anybody to steal him. I've known him for 20 years, and from the moment I met him, I knew he was the most talented guy I've ever met. And now he's 20 years later. He may be a little slower than he was in terms of output.
Right.
And he's certainly making a higher wage than he was 20 years ago, but I think he's got another 12, 15 in him.
Yeah.
And as we think, now this is an even bigger tangent, as we think about affordability, I think that there has been pressure in our industry to keep prices low, to keep salaries low, to keep bids low, and that's ultimately been to our societal detriment because we've valued first cost.
That's right.
Over better, healthier, more durable buildings that are going to last, and frankly, taking care of the men and women that build them.
That's right.
Because we should value really good carpenter who's talented to have a 30 plus, maybe even 40-year career in our industry over beating them down on their price and getting them at the lowest point. And I think one thing that you and I have done well in the friendship I've known you for 20 years is, and I've certainly made mistakes on this, but saying to clients, hey, what you're telling me you want for expectations doesn't meet with this budget that you're telling me is your expectation as well.
Right.
And so if we're gonna build you a great house that meets these high expectations, this is the budget point it needs to be, including these carpenters at X dollars an hour times these hundreds or thousands of an hours.
Right.
And so I wanna on the podcast say how much I appreciate you leading our industry in Austin all these years. And you're not on the front man of the camera like I tend to be, but you absolutely have done amazing things for our industry in Austin for 20 years and are spurring this next generation of builders and younger folks to get in there and do it. And it's more expensive to build a house in Austin.
Sure.
And some of that I don't love because I feel like sometimes, we pay higher material prices or commodity prices.
Right.
But I am not ashamed at all about our higher wages we spend on the trades. I think that's a good thing in Austin compared to other cities in Texas.
Yeah, and going back to your original question, there's a difference between working hard and working smart.
That's for
and,
sure.
As certainly whenever I was a young carpenter, I worked hard, not always smart.
Right.
And I would like to think that over the decades, I am working smarter than I have, or I'm just learning from those lessons. And I think it's a lesson for anybody, any trade, any industry, right? But working harder in construction has, I think, a greater cost than other industries.
Yeah, that's
right.
for sure.
If you're up in lumber or concrete or that takes a toll.
It's hard on you.
Yeah, and those things you get one shot at a 20-year-old back.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
And if you lose it, it's hard to regain. So
now you're a 30-year-old with an old man back.
That's right. That's right. And so to that longevity, I think, is also a little bit on us, and it's on the individual, but it's also on us as leaders of companies and teams to say, hey, let's work smarter.
Yeah.
Because if you want this to be a 5-year career, that's fine too. But if you want it to be more than that, we got to make sure we're smart about it.
Yeah. I want to switch gears. I want you to give some advice on how you get to the level of reputation you have. You're such an interesting guy because, like, if you look on some Google reviews or Yelp, you're never going to find Pilgrim Building. Right. Or if you just ask the general public, hey, who's the best builder in Austin? Pilgrim's name's not on there. But if I go to the top 5 most celebrated architects in Austin, your name's in the top 3 off their lips on who are the best builders in Austin.
Right.
And you didn't get there by chance. Give us some advice on the things you've put in place in the last 26 years that have now landed you on that top list of the fabulous architects who do amazing work and are like, you should hire this guy. His name's Branson.
Yeah. Well, first is luck, right?
Certainly.
I mean, like I mentioned earlier, like Austin has been a rising tide for a long time.
Yep.
And so there are a lot of great opportunities to do great work with great people.
Yep.
That breeds. That just is a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You
True.
have clients who are willing to take a risk on a much younger me.
Yeah, true.
Whenever I don't have a gray head in my or hair in my head, and say, yeah, I think I can do that. And so that, well, let me back up. And I think most tradespeople, craftspeople, respond well to collaboration.
For sure.
And we've had a community of collaboration in the design and build world in Austin, Texas for a while.
Yeah.
That lends a better product. And so I've always been up for that. So whenever I have clients and a design team who's saying, what about this, what about this? That is so engaging. It's another thing to deliver, and there's absolutely challenges with that. But that has been pretty exciting to be a part of. Explaining my background, like, I come from the trades. I do not have a business. If I had a business, if I had a business sense or business background, I may not have made some of those same decisions that may or may not have led to whatever success I can claim now, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I really think that what you're speaking to is that collaborative is born out of that collaborative nature of what we do, and that's pretty exciting because we do prototypes, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And those are exciting, and it's not, if we did the same thing over and over, that's not for me, that's not for you.
That's right.
So that's engaging, and that's a bit of lightning in a bottle, right?
I want to add 2 things in there that I've known you for 20 years, that I've seen you in your company in 20 years. Super high integrity and super high desire for craftsmanship on every job. Whether it was a $500,000 job or a $5 million job, whether it was a okay architect or some celebrated person, you've always had super high integrity, which combined with super high craftsmanship, and also, let's throw in there, really talented craftsmen and women that stay with you long term. That means that your reputation for craftsmanship has been amazing. And I think the takeaway for the young builder out there is give it your best. Don't say, oh, that's good enough, or they're not paying me for my best work, or, I really should be at $50 an hour, but I'm at $35 an hour, so I'm not going to work like I'm that good. I think Branson's key to success, and of course that's all his great people he's hired and been around too, right? I'm not just for any of the Pilgrim or Enabler people listening. I want you to know that I've seen your work, and the industry recognizes that as top of the heap, best in America work. It's because you've always had the integrity to say, we're going to take our craftsmanship and do it the best we can. Yeah. Whether the budget's here or whether the budget's here, whether the timeline is here or there, you've always given it your best. And that's a unique blend of both really good skill and really good craftsmanship, but also the integrity to say, I'm going to do it. For me, not necessarily for you.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. But I will point out, like, these hands don't do a lot of that work, right? So you've got to have the talent to you know, like
talented people.
I mean, you know, you and I can see and appreciate, and that integrity and that commitment, we can be 100%. But if we can't deliver, and so it all comes down to who's doing the work.
Yep.
And so that's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Side question on this same front, especially because it's near and dear to your heart. How do we get the next generation? What's your thought on getting that next generation to be interested in carpentry? Any epiphanies you've had over the years, or have you had any 20-year-olds or 18-year-olds, or maybe even second? You know, I was an office worker and I switched careers. Any interesting stories from those folks?
We have all those right now. We've got some, I call them kids, but they're low 20s. There's another kid, you know, it's a longer story, but we have a friend that called me, and she's like, you need to hire this kid. And this is a woman who you would not expect that to come out of her mouth. So if so it's like, you've got my attention. Okay. And I'm listening. And he's awesome. And you know, and craftsmen, you know, they're kind of wired a little bit differently, right? They just kind of have an innate, and you know those people. Yep. And then we've got a guy that's a few years younger than you and I are, that said, I think I want to try this. And he is that right? He's awesome.
Oh my gosh,
he's awesome.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see if we get actually some of the need for the next generation of craftsmen, not as the post-high school, but as the post my first career sucked and was not fulfilling to me. Yeah. And so I'm going to make a move into something that probably pays less, that is way more interesting, way more fulfilling, way more challenging, and also gives me that feeling of I actually accomplished something that was worthwhile in the world, which is what I love about building in general.
I think that's right. I think the challenge is that initial kind of sticker shock, right? Like if you come out of college and you get some white collar job, I get it. It's tough to kind of, you know, take less and be dirty and sweaty at the end of every day. Yeah. And I mean, obviously we think it's fulfilling, but that's not for everybody. But yeah, if anybody wants to give it a try, I mean, to answer your first question, I don't know how we extend those feelers out there and solicit more folks, right? Yeah. We're at the point where we see people kind of seem to seek us out, or there's a network out there that feeds to us, so that's great. But I don't know how, on a broader sense, to really stimulate that. Yeah. You know, the ACC, we've had some outreach to that, and we've got some good folks there. But those are folks that are already looking into the trades, that are looking into that.
They're thinking about it.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the last question for you, because I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you got a building company to run. Between your building company and your carpentry company, in the last 10 years, how many ads have you said, we need a project manager, you know, submit your resume, or we're looking for a carpenter, versus how many have come to you, like that young man you mentioned, and you're like, oh, I don't necessarily have a spot, but yeah, let's hire this guy. He seems like he's the right fit. What's the ratio between those two?
It's maybe half and half. Okay. Again, this is me not being a good business person and not knowing kind of those signs when I need it. I'd like to think I'm better at recognizing talent on the first beat, but hiring is tough. Yeah. And hiring stuff in Austin, right? Yeah. Like finding the right folks. And so both on a project manager side, you know, you and I kind of have a similar strategy where it's like, we like architects. Mm-hmm. We like architects. They have a sense, they are trained in a way that I'm not, I was never trained. That's right. And at least from my perspective, coming from the trades, if we have somebody that's coming from the trades and somebody that's trained as an architect, that's a pretty powerful combination. Yep. And so that's been a good strategy from our project management standpoint. From carpenters, I mean, we do, you know, we'll do Craigslist, we'll do Instagram, we'll kind of put the word out there. Yeah. And oftentimes it's somebody who knows somebody or a
that's
friend
cool.
of the, and often it's like, hey, we've heard good things both ways, right? They've heard good things about us, and we're like, let's give it a shot.
Do you ever do auditions for carpenters? Like, hey, I'm going to pay you for this week.
Yeah.
Here's the rate, and then we'll reevaluate
That's
on
right.
the following Monday.
We do that for everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's more than it's several weeks,
Yeah.
And what I tell folks, and my managing partner, again, I want to give him credit because he does this better than I ever will. But it's like, hey, we want to make sure you're the right fit for us, and we're the right fit for you. Meet the crew.
Yep.
We're in this for the long haul. We're not trying to, have a 3-month job and then fire you.
Right.
So I'm more concerned. I don't want somebody to quit their job and then show up at our job and say, this isn't what I signed up for.
Yeah, totally.
And so it's trying to be transparent about what matters to us, which is the long-term relationship and long-term product that we're producing, and company culture we're trying to build. And so it's being very candid about that. And usually it's hey, let's try each other out for a few weeks, and this is what we'll start at, and let's circle back at the end of that.
Good.
And we'll tell you what you think, and you tell us what you think.
That's a great way to go.
Yeah.
That's a great way to go. Branson, I really appreciate your time, brother. So on Instagram, Pilgrim Building Company.
Yep.
Enabler.
LLC. No, Enabler Austin.
Enabler Austin
Yeah.
is how you can find Branson. Branson, I want to invite you and your crew to potentially join us for Build Show Live. This is my way to tell it to you, but also to plug it for these guys. Build Show Live is our annual conference. It's kind of like a users conference with very like-minded builders, remodelers, carpenters, tradesmen and women that are learning how to build better, that are learning building science, that are learning all the craft that you and I have learned over the years, being taught by master craftsmen and women from around the country. It's in San Antonio this year. Awesome. It's in September. BuildShowLive.com for info. You can put your name in the box in the email list, and we'll email you, because tickets will go on sale in May. And I just got out of a meeting today, talking about how some of the changes we're making, because this is our 3rd time doing it.
Nice.
And we've got some really cool stuff happening this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday deal down in San Antonio.
Awesome.
So
Count us in.
Would love to have you and the crew down for Build Show Live. Just fabulous education, 150 plus manufacturers there. And all the products that you and I use on a regular basis. So, Branson, thanks for coming in for the podcast with me today.
This has been great, Matt. Thanks, bud.
Been really fun. Guys, if you're not currently a podcast subscriber, you can subscribe at all the normal platforms to listen to us. You can also watch us if you want to see what Branson and I look like. We have similar gray-headed, very.
I think I've got you beat.
With a few worry lines here on the face as well. It's time for us to go in for our crow's feet lift and our what's that one they inject?
A little
filler.
Yeah.
We need a little filler now that we're both turning 53. You can actually watch us on thebuildshow.com or over on the YouTubes. But Spotify, Apple iTunes, all those places how you can subscribe. And we are currently in our Origin series. So I've had some of my older builder friends who I've known for a long time who have built incredible businesses on. And it's really a privilege to take an hour of Branson's time and talk to him about his company. Hopefully you guys learned something. With that being said, hit that subscribe button. We've got brand new content every single Friday in the podcast. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on the Build Show podcast.